Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Alarming news out of Syria. Here's a quote. "We will enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque." Those are the words of Islamic rebels who recently took control of Syria. And they reveal their ultimate goal, take control of Jerusalem.
Well, that's one reason Israeli forces struck hundreds of targets in Syria, destroying most of its military infrastructure. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
In a 48-hour bombing campaign, the IDF says it has destroyed up to 80% of Syria's military capability. Named Bashan Arrow after the biblical name for the Golan Heights, the IDF hit more than 300 targets throughout Syria.
The IDF has been working in Syria in recent days to damage and destroy strategic capabilities that threaten the state of Israel. The Navy worked tonight to destroy the Syrian fleet, and with great success.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu authorized the strikes to keep Syria's military assets from Israel's new jihadist neighbors, and he sent them a warning.
We want relations with the new regime in Syria, but if this regime allows Iran to reestablish itself in Syria, or allows the transfer of Iranian weapons or any other weapons to Hezbollah, or attacks us, we will respond forcefully and we will exact a heavy price from it. What happened to the previous regime will also happen to this regime.
Inside Syria, the former government of Bashar Assad says it will transfer power to Syria's new leader, who pledged no new war.
The regime is now gone, thanks to God, and the country is moving towards development and reconstruction. It's going towards stability. People are exhausted from war, so the country isn't ready for another, and it's not going to get into another one.
But the Middle East Media Research Institute released this video of HTS fighters pledging Damascus is simply a stepping stone.
Just like that, Allah willing, we will enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Prophet's Mosque, and the Kaaba. We will enter these, Allah willing.
It's a goal HTS leader Mohammed al-Golani shared in this 2018 video.
Allah willing, we will reach not only Damascus, Jerusalem awaits us as well.
Charmaine Heading, founder of the Shai Fund, currently helping Christians inside Syria, says it's important to know the history of these new powers in Syria.
We're watching these two groups that have taken over Syria, the HTS, which is run by Gilani, who's formerly part of Jabhat al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda, and the SNA, which is a coalition of forces but has a lot of ISIS veterans in them. And both of these groups are somehow funded by Turkey and have both got major human rights records.
It's why Heading and many human rights groups are deeply concerned for the future of Christians and other minority groups inside Syria. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, we should all be deeply concerned, not just for the minority groups within the Syrian borders, but the ultimate goal of these Islamic groups. They're offshoots of ISIS. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria is that name. They were allied with them at the beginning, and their goal was to go and attack Jerusalem. That was their ideological goal. They would put together a group, control Iraq, control Syria, and in that have strength enough to go and attack Israel and take Jerusalem. Let's take their words seriously. That ideology hasn't gone away. They're trying to put a new face on it, and you will see from their actions where they're going. But that ideology runs very deep, and we should all be concerned about it. This is alarming news. And where is that Middle East going? Is it going to peace or is it going to more war? In other news, Congress is investigating pro-Hamas demonstrations that turned violent right here in Washington, D.C. John Jessup has that story and more from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. A committee in the United States House is pursuing information to hold those involved accountable. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Michelle London has the details.
Oversight Chairman Representative Bruce Westerman says many unanswered questions remain from those protests. He specifically asked Charles Cuvelier of the National Park Service how an unorganized protest here in the nation's capital went totally out of control.
D.C. is no stranger to protests and free speech demonstrations, but in this case, something went horribly wrong.
And that resulted in massive violence and destruction.
The rioters chanted terrorist slogans, hurled what appeared to be human feces at U.S. Park Police officers, destroyed government property.
Rep. Westerman added that he witnessed the riot's aftermath, then joined other members of Congress to replace American flags previously burned to the ground.
That night, I joined my fellow Republican members to return Old Glory to its rightful place.
The violence in front of Union Station happened the same day Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke to a joint session of Congress. According to the subcommittee's report, the organizer called Answer obtained a permit from the Park Service for a peaceful protest.
That's why we are here today, to investigate how pro-Hamas protests turned National Park Service land into a violent national disgrace.
During the hearing came this heated exchange between Indiana Rep. Rudy Yackham and Charles Cuvelier.
Mr. Cuvelier, why did the U.S. Park Police only have 29 officers to monitor what was expected to be a 5,000-person protest? But where things were actually going wrong, on site at Union Station, how many officers were on site at Union Station where our American flag was torn down and burnt to the ground?
So I'm trying my best to answer your question. There were 174 for the total.
This is a very simple question here. I understand there were 174 people in total for the event. How many people were on site where the American flag was torn down and burnt, and then the Palestinian flag was subsequently raised? Very simple.
Sure. I will get back with you to the best of my ability.
But how do you not know that answer?
Since the riots, Cuvelier says 4 arrests have been made and insists more will follow. He also defended the Park Service's security strategy, saying they did what they thought was best to keep it peaceful and safe. Cuvelier couldn't answer whether the 4 protesters arrested were Americans or possibly illegal migrants. Meanwhile, the committee says July's violence has raised concerns on future riots Answer could be planning, specifically around the upcoming presidential inauguration. Michelle London, CBN News, Washington.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Well, now to Malibu, California, where fast-moving wildfire has scorched more than 3,000 acres. Thousands of residents have evacuated as the blaze destroyed several homes and threatened Pepperdine University. CBN's Charlene Aaron has the story.
The Franklin fire left a trail of destruction, displacing thousands of residents, including some famous celebrities. The fire started late Monday night. Daylight revealed the damage as residents recall their neighborhoods encircled by the fast-moving fire.
Completely surrounded by fire. Every direction you look, surrounded by fire. I thought I was going to have to drive through a ring of fire just to get out of here.
This man saving at least 5 homes in his neighborhood by pumping pool water through a high-powered hose.
There was so much fire in here, it was insane.
Some homes burned to the ground as the fire continued through Tuesday.
A small number of homes in the affected area have been destroyed and damaged. The exact number is currently unknown. We do have preliminary reports that 7 structures are destroyed and 8 structures are damaged. This was from an aerial view that we were able to look at.
More than 8,000 homes and other structures faced the threat of the fast-moving flames, including more than 2,000 where residents were ordered to evacuate. The American Red Cross providing much-needed shelter.
To come here and just have somewhere to hang out and, get a cup of coffee and lay down on a cot after a tough sleep on the bench seat of the truck was really nice.
The ferocious flames fueled by winds gusting to 80 miles an hour, at one point even jumping the Pacific Coast Highway. Officials say the fire is 0% contained and some 1,500 firefighters are building containment lines as air tankers drop water on the blaze. Oh my God! Monday night, the blaze reaching the edges of Pepperdine University. Videos show trees on fire near the school's library, where students sheltered in place.
It was a pretty wild ride, but I got to give props to the university. They handled it pretty well. Felt pretty safe. It was definitely a little scary at some points, but I think it's pretty under control now.
The fire also reportedly threatened the homes of several celebrities, including actor Dick Van Dyke and Cher. The actor posting on Facebook, "Arlene and I have safely evacuated with our animals, except Bobo escaped as we were leaving. We're praying he'll be okay and that our community will survive these terrible fires." Meanwhile, by late Tuesday, forecasters said the strongest winds had passed, but the fire is still uncontained and danger remains. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Thank you, Charlene. Well, today we also want to note the passing of a groundbreaking Christian leader and church planner. Emmanuel Canestracci was a pioneer of the apostolic and prophetic movement. He also founded Gateway City Church in San Jose. He stepped into eternity at the age of 92. Apostle C, as he was called by his church family, dedicated his life to spreading the gospel and mentoring leaders. He pastored Gateway City Church for more than 30 years and traveled to dozens of countries ministering the gospel in his lifetime. Earlier this year, his wife Shirley, to whom he was married for 69 years, also passed away. Their family includes 12 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. And Gordon, he was a fighter beating cancer a couple of years ago.
Well, he was had an impact not just here in America, but around the world. Apostle C and Shirley modeled what it was like to be a couple in ministry, and they truly ministered together as a couple, and they mentored leaders around the world. He called himself a pastor to pastors. I saw that firsthand. It was in my life. Apostle C and Shirley came to my home and prayed over me and Catherine and gave us some wonderful advice and mentored us. He was part of the church that I attended in Manila, Victory Christian Fellowship, which is now gone worldwide itself. It's an incredible legacy. So well done, good and faithful servant. He was friends with John Jimenez, Rock Church here in Virginia Beach. Bill Hammond, the leader of the relaunch of the prophetic movement in the church. Words just escape me, the impact that this one man, this couple had on the world and on the church and the modern charismatic movement. We owe a great debt of gratitude to him because of what he did, the pioneering work he did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 60 years of incredible ministry around the world. Again, well done, good and faithful servant.